good morning from the National Memorial Arboretum in Staffordshire, centre of the country and the heart of remembrance for millions of families. Today is the 80th anniversary of the end of the Second World War. Peace was announced just after midnight on the 15th of August 1945. Victory in Japan ended fighting in Southeast Asia, said by those who were there to be a forgotten war. Those serving and imprisoned in Southeast Asia had to endure a further 3 months after VE Day on the 8th of May 1945, victory in Europe. When they came home, they often did not share their experiences. Some were told not to do so, only later detailing the heroism and the horrors, desperate fighting, and of prisoners held in savage conditions. Some 30 or more, many of them over 100 years old, veterans of the fighting in the Far East, join us today. We expect the King and Queen in the next 15 minutes. In a message released earlier today, the King said, "The courage and camaraderie displayed in humanity's darkest hour is a flame that shall blaze for eternity." The Royal British Legion's Remembrance event will begin with a silence in half an hour at 12 o'clock. If you're blind or partially sighted, there is accessible commentary on the BBC iPlayer with Jane Hill. You can also access British Sign Language on the red button and iPlayer. Here in the National Memorial Arboretum, with those beautiful trees behind the memorial, is a corner dedicated to the war in the Far East. Where we find the Burma Star Memorial, tribute to the men and women who fought in the campaigns in Burma, now known as Myanmar. The emblem there mirrors the medal awarded to those who served. We'll hear it clink proudly on the chests of those who have been awarded the star. Known as the Forgotten Army, the 14th Army was the largest Commonwealth force ever assembled. Of course, it was the Empire then. India sent the largest volunteer army in human history. Soldiers were also drawn from East and West Africa. Here's the inscription of the Kohima epitaph, words that will be spoken for us today by Army veteran Owen Filer, who served in India. Japan's advance into East Asia in December 1941 resulted in hundreds of thousands of Allied troops and civilians becoming prisoners of war. Some carried out forced labour to build more than 250 miles of railway from Bangkok to Rangoon. This is a 30-metre length of original track from that Burma railway. These flowers in tribute to the 16,000 prisoners of war and 100,000 labourers who lost their lives building it. It explains how it's earned its second name in history, the Death Railway. Now, amid European and Japanese maple trees stands a pink granite stone of reconciliation presented by the Japanese government, whose ambassador is here today. VJ Day followed the destruction of the Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki by atomic bombs. Such man-made power had never been seen by humanity before. It changed war forever. 80 years on, the impact of this history is still felt and resonates with us today. This block atop the cairn, given by the citizens of Hiroshima to the British, from the ruins of their city, in memory of everyone who lost their lives. Some veterans have chosen never to speak about their experiences in the Far East. Some have found some solace in sharing memories with us, with families and friends. We're proud now to meet John Harlow and Yava Abbas, who share their reflections on today's anniversary.
My name is John Harlow. I'm 101 years of age. I was 16 and a half when I joined the Navy. That would be 1941. I was a submariner being stationed in Sri Lanka.
My name is Syed Yava Abbas. I was 19 and I joined the army. They advertised for officers to be trained as combat cameraman. I had the freedom of the front. I was sent to the 14th Army. My instructions were, you can go anywhere you like. Find out where the fighting is and go for it.
We had regular radio contact all the time we were on the surface, but once you dived, there was nothing. We would spend about 30 days under the water. We had no idea at the time that the war in Europe had come to an end. We weren't very much concerned about what was happening in Europe. We were more concerned about what was happening in the Indian Ocean and the Pacific. This was our war, the Far East.
We're advancing towards Mandalay. I was in a dugout with a platoon of Gurkhas, and I was trying to get my camera onto the precipice to see from my viewfinder what I could see with my eye. And this Gurkha was helping me, and suddenly there was a shot. The Gurkha got it in the temple. I saw him die.
It was a war that we fought. We were all in it. And we had a purpose, and we achieved it.
Well, I'm 104, and I look back, how can I put it? The inscription in Kohima best reflects my feelings, that where it says, for your tomorrow, we gave our today.
Because it's the 80th anniversary, we'll be the last, because there will be no veterans left. VJ Day to me is the closing of a book. It's the end of something, yeah? My thoughts go immediately back to Sri Lanka and the men who died. And I do get a bit emotional. They were referred to as the Forgotten Fleets, but they will never be forgotten by me.
I remember my comrades, those who gave their life and those who lived to tell the tale.
Yavar, who we heard from, will read a section of his diary, and John, as Yavar, he'll read from his diary. Amazing to see his footage which he shot as a young man. He was given a pistol, a camera and a jeep, and told to go off into the war and film it. And 80 years later, in the presence of His Majesty the King, his footage is being screened and watched by you and by our BBC team and by all these people, 1,000 people gathered themselves with a link to this conflict. And John, who we heard from there, his words will be spoken at today's event by Anton Lesser. There's John. John's submarine was the last mine-laying submarine to make it back. Came all the way from the UK, went to the other side of the world with young John in it, brought him back to us today. The band of the Royal Marines, led by Drum Major David Burt, under the direction of Captain Trevor Norton. This is the Portsmouth Band, known as the Royal Band. Now they're playing the Captain General, the march. Their Captain General is His Majesty the King. What we are watching is the formation of the Tri-Service Guard of Honour, the Royal Navy, the band is now playing the Army, the Navy and the Air Force, the Grenadier Guards, Grenadier Guards marked by their white plumes in the left-hand side of the bearskin, and at the rear we're listening to Major Gareth Davis, Captain of the Guard of Honour. I did not want to interrupt him.
Five forward in front of it. Five forward. Still six back. Still seven back. 4, 8, 7 forward.
The line being inspected by Company Sergeant Major Sutton, whose grandfather served in the Navy in the Pacific, Harry Mycroft. Very proud I spoke to Colour Sergeant Major Sutton to be representing his family. Harry Mycroft helped evacuate troops from Japan at the end of the Second World War. Shortly we will see the ancient tradition of the laying of a drumhead altar. And the Royal Air Force King's Colour Squadron. The Royal Navy contingent led by Lieutenant Commander Richard Hay. The Royal Air Force contingent led by Squadron Leader Chris Dixon. The bands of the Household Division, under their Senior Director, Lieutenant Colonel Stuart Halliday, will shortly play Elgar's Nimrod, and we will see then the assembly of the drumhead altar on the steps of the National Memorial here at the Arboretum. The drumhead will be assembled by musicians of the Central Band of the Royal Air Force. final drum, carried by Flight Sergeant Andrew Taylor. His grandfather, Captain Eric Taylor, was captured in Dunkirk, spent 5 years as a prisoner of war, was known for getting musical instruments into the prison camps. The standards of the Royal British Legion and the Union flag will complete our drumhead altar, laid by Garrison Sergeant Major Vern Stokes, who joined the army aged 16, joined the Coldstream Guards, and shortly we will prepare for the arrival of the King and we will hear the national anthem. We're awaiting the arrival of Their Majesties the King and Queen. The King's colour from the Royal Navy, carried by Sub-Lieutenant Harry Collicutt from HMS Collingwood, still under training, he told me. Harry's great-uncle, Sergeant Quinlan, was captured in Singapore in 1942 and became a prisoner of war. His other great-uncle was in the 14th Army, Private Bill Greenwood, in the Army Catering Corps in Kuala Lumpur. The memorial is to those who've lost their lives in the service of our country after the Second World War. We see the circular memorial and the obelisk. The Gurkha engineers, the buglers from the bands of the Royal Marines Scotland and Collingwood. They will play the Last Post and Reveille. Their famous white helmets of the Wolsey pattern with a globe, a golden globe atop. The guardsmen here today are the Grenadier Guards of Nijmegen Company.
Guard of Honour! Royal! Salute! Present! Arms!
His Majesty is being greeted by the Prime Minister and the National President of the Royal British Legion, Paul Bennett. The Chief of the Defence Staff, Admiral Sir Tony Radakin, behind, with Her Majesty the Queen and the Prime Minister on her right. We're listening to the memorial solemn melody. His Majesty salutes. King salutes the colour. The King reflected on the moment 80 years ago that his grandfather, King George VI, announced to the nation and the Commonwealth that the war was over. The King, of course, Charles, the son of parents who served in the Second World War, and the King said this morning: for the millions of families gathered around their wireless sets and for their loved ones still serving far from home, it was the message a battle-weary world had long prayed for. We're moving towards our act of remembrance and wreath-laying, with a special role for that young lad there with a posy. He's 10, Alfie, preparing to pass a posy to Her Majesty. The King has laid his wreath on behalf of the nation on the 80th anniversary of the end of the Second World War. The veterans who are here joined under one King and are now here proud to represent that generation in front of another. The posy includes jasmine, marigold, orchids, tropical orchid, hibiscus, rhododendron and golden wattle representing different countries, laid by Her Majesty the Queen as the Prime Minister steps forward. Receiving his wreath is the Chief of the Defence Staff, Admiral Sir Tony Radakin. He was previously the first Sea Lord, professional head of the Naval Service. And this is the National President of the Royal British Legion, whose volunteers and staff have arranged our event today. We head across the Arboretum now to meet a 100-year-old veteran, Alfred Conway. His wreath will be laid on his behalf by his grandchildren, his great-grandchildren, I would say. He saw active service in the Royal Navy alongside Philip, the late Duke of Edinburgh. Alfred volunteered in the Royal Navy in 1943. Supreme Sacrifice was composed by the Reverend Dr. Charles Harris in 1925, a hymn remembering the fallen of the First World War, sung to the words of the poem in the hymn, O Valiant Hearts. Taking their positions, Army veteran Owen Filer and Royal Air Force veteran Ron Gumley. Ron will read the exhortation. Owen will read the dedication from the Kohima epitaph we saw earlier in the Far East corner here at the National Arboretum.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. Thank you.
Ahead of us will be the national silence. What will happen next will be that you will see and hear the hawk jets of the Red Arrows, led by Red One, Squadron Leader John Bond, the Royal Air Force Aerobatic Team, the public face of the Royal Air Force, the Red Arrows.
Okay. No. When you go home, tell them of us, and for your tomorrows, we give our todays.
Owen Filer, who we just heard strongly read the dedication from, I say read, from memory, give us the dedication, is 105.
Guard of honor, well move to the left in freeze. Form freeze. Left.
The Guard of Honour will shortly march off. Owen joined
Guard of honor, by the right. Quick march.
and served mostly in Bombay, providing protection to a senior captain. And he read the words from the Kohima epitaph. Led by Drum Major David Burt from the band of His Majesty's Royal Marines Portsmouth, we're listening to Eagle Squadron, composed by Kenneth Alford, dedicated to the Americans who flew with the Royal Air Force during the difficult days of the early war.
That this my heart embraces all day through. In a small cafe, park across the way, the children's carousel, the chestnut tree, the wishing well. I'll be seeing you in every lovely summer's day, in everything that's bright and gay. I'll always think of you that way. I'll find you in the morning sun, and when the night is new, I'll be looking at the moon, but I'll be seeing you. I'll be seeing you in every lovely summer's day, in everything that's bright and gay. think of you that way. I'll find you in the morning sun, and when the night is new, I'll be looking at the moon, but I'll be seeing you.
Ruby Turner with the 1938 classic, made famous by Bing Crosby's version in 1944.
Today marks 80 years since VE Day, the day Japan surrendered, ending the Second World War. We come together at this British Legion commemoration to celebrate the peace this day brought, whilst remembering the sacrifices made by so many. 8 decades on, we are honored to be joined by veterans and their families. We wish to share our gratitude with all who served and were imprisoned. Your spirit and determination in the face of unspeakable horrors will not be forgotten. In May 1945, the guns fell silent in Europe. Many others were still fighting across the globe. 3 years earlier, in December 1941, Japan had launched surprise attacks at Pearl Harbor, and British and Allied territories, including Hong Kong, Malaya, and the Philippines. Britain, then an imperial power, had troops across its Asian colonies, but was poorly prepared, having underestimated the Japanese threat. As they advanced through the Malay Peninsula, Japanese forces pushed British and Commonwealth troops back to Singapore, which fell on the 15th of February, 1942. Within 4 months, Japan had also driven all opposing forces out of Burma. Those fighting in the Far East were far from home, and families knew little about what was happening. A forgotten army, a forgotten war, a legacy that casts its shadow into the present. 3 veterans share their memories with us.
When I was called up, my mum couldn't take me to the station to see me off. Mothers didn't want their sons to be going off the war, did they? She said, I hope you don't go to the Far East.
The British Pacific Fleet was the largest fleet that the Navy ever assembled. And my draft ship was to HMS Montclair, the flagship of the fleet train. I was a very small cog in a very, very big wheel.
I was 19 years of age when I joined the Army. I was part of D-Day on Gold Beach, then transferred to the Far East. My job was to clear mines and booby traps. Fear was put to one side.
What a big undertaking, wasn't it? It was for the RAF. We did everything by bringing supplies in, food drops, bombing Burma, evacuating the sick, wounded from the front.
One of the worst things used by the Japanese of kamikaze pilots. Our carriers were the main source of attack. I mean, some of the ships lost quite a lot of people. You just rode your luck while you could. And that's what we did.
Disease had more casualties than the wounded up front. At one stage I contracted clinical malaria and I wasn't very well, and I had to be flown out by a little aircraft, a single-seater with a stretcher in the back to a mobile field hospital. They cleaned me up to get me ready again for going back.
The war in the Far East, I think, was the forgotten war. We starved of everything. Absolutely starved of everything.
When the war in Europe was finished, people were so overjoyed after 6 years of war that they took for granted that everything was hunky-dory, and it wasn't, of course, especially for us out there.
I did compose a little poem. Now what happened to the boys that die over here? Do people stand and give them a cheer? No, they've forgotten and heard of no more, just like our forefathers in the last bloody war. That's my poem.
Captivity, we would lift our prayers to thee. Keep us ever in thy love. Grant that daily we may prove those who place their trust in thee. More than conquerors may be. For our loved ones we would pray, be their guardian night and day. From all dangers keep them free, banish all anxiety. May they trust us to thy care. Know that thou our pains dost share. May the day of freedom dawn, peace and justice be reborn. Grant that nations loving thee, all the world may brothers be. Let thy suffering know rebirth. See thy kingdom come on earth. Cleanse by suffering no rebirth. See thy kingdom come on earth.
The Captive's Hymn and the words of Margaret Drybreath were composed in captivity. Margaret died while still interned in 1945. The capture of Singapore was the beginning of appalling treatment for hundreds and thousands of prisoners of war. These included Allied civilians, 40,000 of them children, who had lived in European colonies across the Far East. Retired Colonel Mohammed Ghani Rushdie is 104. He was an officer in the Indian Army that was captured when Singapore fell and interned at Bidagari, prisoner of war camp. He is unable to join us here today, but he told us his memories.
I try not to think back too often to my time in the camp. But if my grandchildren ask me, I tell them about the cruel Japanese guards who would grab us and beat us, who treated us like donkeys, working from morning to night. There was very little food. Despite this, the Japanese would taunt us by putting pork in front of Muslims and beef in front of Hindus. What food there was often contaminated with insects or slaked lime, making us fall ill with dysentery. Many who got sick were left to die. My prayers were the only thing that kept me going. I used to pray every day to leave. Everyone did. We all prayed to a different God, but we all prayed for the same thing: freedom. After 3.5 years in the camp, I began to believe that I would never make it out. And then one day it happened. It was like being a bird that's been caged for many years, fluttering its wings and flying. Despite everything I went through, I never felt angry. And that this is the message I would like to share with you today. Never walk with anger. Let calmness lead the way.
I can put myself back there and look at that camp. I was only 5 years old when we were caught by the Japanese. You wouldn't want your children to see what I've seen.
It was so horrible when it happened. You just can't believe it did happen. I was 9 when we were taken. The men went into one side of the prison and the women and children went on to the other side. It was terrible. There was 118 of us in one hut and we had one toilet. There was quite a lot of disease and your head was full of creepy crawlies. I mean, you only had to shake your head like that and they were falling on your shoulders.
I was always hungry and said, "Mum, can I have just some bread and jam before tea?" And Mum said, "I don't think I got any jam, darling, and I don't think I can find any bread."
Then, of course, we never had much to eat. We had rice cooked in water. Most of the time, that's all there was.
I was so skinny. Every bone stuck out.
We used to get these little baby snails and then just break the shell. And we could chew that all day and think we're eating something. The Japanese soldiers, they were very strict and they wanted us to bow, but you had to bow properly.
You literally went down, because if you looked up, the butt would come into you. But I shall never forget the cruelty. There was a prison in the camp and some screams out of there where they tortured them. It was terrible. There was no respect, no human respect at all. It was nearly 4 years we were there. By then, I weighed 2 stone. And then one day in camp, there was a plane flying over. A man stood there in the open doorway of this plane shouting, "The war is over. Can you hear me? The war is over."
The first thing we noticed was there's not so many guards about. We all thought, this is it, you know, this is the end, we're going home, sort of thing. And then all of a sudden, the place went quiet. There was no noise at all anywhere. Everybody went quiet. Yes. It was quite a shock when it came to an end.
Mum said, we're going to get out now, we'll go out. And I said, then can I have bread and jam? Yes, my darling, she said. You will have as much as you like.
I share the Far East Prisoners of War prayer for all prisoners of war and for their families, and for my grandfather, Stan Vasey, who served in the Royal Air Force and endured 3.5 years in captivity. And we who are left grow old with the years, remembering the heartache, the pain and the tears, hoping and praying that never again man will sink to such sorrow and shame. The price that was paid we will always remember, every day, every month, not just in November. We shall remember them.
Warrant Officer Kadak Bahadur Chetri is a third-generation Gurkha. His grandfather, Subedar Major Kalu Chetri Sardar Bahadur, served in the 2nd King Edward's own Gurkha Rifles and was a prisoner of war. In the camp he inspired 1,500 men with his morale, became a symbol of defiance in the face of extraordinary hardship.
By 1942, with Japanese forces occupying a vast area of Southeast Asia and the Western Pacific, Britain, the US, and its allies began the fight back. More than 50 Royal Air Force and Commonwealth squadrons flew in support of land operations. At sea, the Royal Navy and the Merchant Navy made a major contribution to enabling the end of the war. Formed in late 1944, the British Pacific Fleet fought alongside the US Navy. The fleet was created to be capable of invading Japan. It was a Commonwealth force that included ships from Canada, New Zealand, and Australia.
I am honoured to share the memories of John Harlow, who joins us here this afternoon. John served as a submariner in the Far East on HMS Rorqual for 2 years. He volunteered for the Navy aged 16, following in his father's footsteps. These are his words. Our job was to lay explosive mines to disrupt Japanese naval operations. On the 9th of January 1945, our sister ship, HMS Porpoise, was off the coast of Penang. She sent a signal confirming her mission was complete, but they were never heard from again. Later, I discovered what had happened. HMS Porpoise was attacked by a Japanese bomber. None of the crew survived. War doesn't grant you the luxury of goodbyes. My submarine was the only mine layer to survive the war. Every year, on VJ Day, I think of a close friend of mine that was on board, Mark Webber. Our paths mirrored one another. We did our training together. We became telegraphists, and we'd share stories over a cold drink back at base. It could so easily have been me. I wish today for us to remember all the crew of HMS Porpoise, Mark, and all lost at sea. For in remembering, they live on.
This is the province of jungle hunters, the specially trained troops of Lord Louis Mountbatten's 14th Army.
I feel proud that I was part of the 14th Army, which was the greatest. In my division, we had Gurkhas and Sikhs besides British soldiers.
I'm from Ghana, and I'm proud that I took part in this war. We want to fight.
We were in the jungle for 12 months. So they gave us a bush hut, and then we got into the really deepest part of the Burma jungle.
Can you imagine no roads, no buildings, no lights of any description? The conditions were atrocious.
Oh, it's awfully hot. I mean, all your clothes are stuck to your body. Sweat. That was the worst part.
And imagine you'd never been able to have a wash or a bath or a change of clothing for 12 months. And on top of that, you had to fight the Japanese.
The fighting in Burma was so ferocious beyond your comprehension. It was brutal.
They were crafty. They were up in the trees as snipers, so you had to be careful.
They fight like devils. They don't care. They fight to die. So there was blood everywhere.
You never saw them till they were attacking you. They'd just come running out at you. I saw this Japanese officer. He's got his sword and he's got it up like this, and he's running straight at me. And I'm thinking to myself, this is my last day kind of thing. But all of a sudden, a Gurkha soldier came round the back of me and shot him. Yeah, and I was thankful for that, I'll tell you. The Gurkhas, the greatest soldiers you could ever meet.
I was never scared. I was never scared at all. That's not boasting. I was in the army, so I had to do what I was told to do.
If we don't defend ourselves, we will be killed. So you have to defend yourself. We fought ferociously.
Once we got them out of Mandalay, they couldn't stop running. They couldn't go fast enough.
The comradeship was excellent. That was why we succeeded. We went there for one purpose, to fight and win. And God has helped us. We have won.
Now we have a new label for seasoned veterans. Hats off to the 14th.
Three inspirational voices. The remarkable Thomas Jones sadly died yesterday afternoon. Our thoughts are with his family. Under the command of General Bill Slim, the 14th Army was a multi-nation force tasked to retake Burma from the Japanese. One of the most diverse fighting forces in history. Its personnel came from nearly 20 countries, including from across East Africa, West Africa, and pre-partition India. By the end of the conflict, over 1 million servicemen and women had served in the biggest army ever assembled. Slim said it was they who turned defeat into victory. In tribute, we welcome Jasdeep Singh Digan, Sir Ben Okri, and Yava Abbas. Yava served as a captain in the 11th Sikh Regiment. He reads an excerpt from his diary.
the diary, preserved lovingly by my beloved late English wife, Marian, perhaps just for such an occasion. But before I read the excerpt, I make no apology for briefly going off the script to salute my brave king, who is here with his beloved queen, in spite of the fact that he's under treatment for cancer, and ailing that I share with him. And if it provides any comfort of which I've been rid for the past 25 years and counting. And I salute him for gracing this occasion, because by his presence here, he has gone a long way to make sure that his granddad's 14th Army is never given the sobriquet again of a forgotten army. So to the diary excerpt. This is my diary. Burma, February 28, 1945. Destination, Mandalay. We are moving out in the first sight, at the first light of the day. There's every chance of my not coming back at all, but I have decided to take the risk. I have taken risks before. I've been here on this front for a month, and 3 times I've been just a couple of feet from death. I've been in action with the forward company of 2 borders. In the Battle of Set Pengon, whose company commander was killed in my presence. I've had the experience of being sniped at from 30 yards. I've seen a Gurkha Bren gunner, hardly 2 feet from me, being shot underneath his tin hat. Tomorrow, I hope I will live to do better things. I could have been dead twice before, but I'm still living. I wouldn't be surprised if I get a life for a 3rd time. May God spare me.
Burma, 1945, sacrifice. They left their farms and villages on margins of ancient kingdoms and traveled over swamp and sea to fight the white man's war. They did not know they were fighting to save the whole wide world. It was not really their quarrel, but those who fought had heard a higher call that said it's worth dying to stop the world being turned to hell. They were the first out there in combat's heat, in lands unknown to their ancestors, to deliver us the dream and flight of time, the play on fields, the dance of mind, the voices soaring in the spheres of myths unmade, in the phoenix realms of freedom. And it is in a stellar light that we remember their under-celebrated sacrifice. Those noble deeds were not often mentioned in histories made by those who did not suffer the horror of those wars. Are their names lost, heroism gone with the blood washed away with the dreaming decades? But Yusufu, Angon, Sadar, Wanzunwula, Said, or Rudra, along with Bill, James, and Russell, among millions from Britain, Africa, and old India, from farms and villages in ancient kingdoms, have written their names in that eternal book of those who helped to save the human race in times of doom. Sometimes history is shaped with selective forgetfulness. This amnesiac world needs richer testimonies of the great many-colored deeds of the human race, the names of the places, and the outlines of their faces.
We're joining the Burma Star Memorial in the far east corner of the Arboretum as Silas Akbar Saba lays a floral tribute on behalf of all who served. Silas's grandfather, RSM Michael Kofi Adjivon, enlisted at 18 from Ghana, one of 90,000 African troops sent to the Far East as part of the 14th Army.
Charlie Richards and Sid Machin are amongst the United Kingdom's last surviving Chindits, and we are honoured that they are with us here today. The Chindits were an elite force trained to carry out daring operations behind enemy lines in the jungles of Burma, and these are Charlie and Sid's shared memories. Being a Chindit was never easy. At one point, we went 10 days through the monsoon. We couldn't get any food or ammunition, and the thoughts of home was the only thing getting us through. The Japanese were ruthless fighters. You had to admit there was no cowardice amongst them. They didn't think of life as we did. They saw it as an honor to be killed in action. As we near the end of our time in Burma, death became an everyday occurrence with bodies to bury almost every evening. Some from enemy action, most from the appalling conditions caused by the monsoon. After weeks of this, it made you wonder if it would be your shoulder that death would be tapping on next. You know, when we came back, it felt like people forgot what we did in Burma. And as time went on, the number of Chindits started to fall. And you don't get together as a group because there isn't a group to get together with. And so you too start to forget. But at long last, people are starting to remember what we did. So it's nice to know we're not exactly forgotten. Being a youngster and getting into that Chindit uniform, you felt proud. And we still feel proud sitting here today, representing all those brave boys we fought alongside in Burma. Thanks to you, Sid and Charlie, the Chindits will never be forgotten.
The pipers of the Queen Gurkha's signal playing the lament Flowers of the Forest.
When the war was over, I felt elated. I felt great. No more fighting. But as far as war's concerned, there's no pride and no glory in war. To forget war and think of peace.
We had to fight, and we did fight it. A lot of people killed, but that's as it was. Probably if I had thought about all these things, I probably wouldn't have reached 100.
People have sacrificed their lives for us to enjoy the sort of life we have today. Some of my old school friends never returned. They were the real heroes.
I think of my mother after the war and what she went through. My older brothers and father had gone fighting, Hong Kong Volunteers it was called, and she would pray and pray that her son and her husband would come home. Of course, they never did. Never saw my father again, or my brothers.
Well, there's only one thing I think about, being honest. I killed 20 Japanese. That preys on my mind.
The boy sitting next to me at school and the boy sitting behind me were cousins. Both got killed in Burma. They were boys that
Why should such a thing happen? Man killing his fellow man. Humanity, destroying humanity. Oh, man, never allow your country to go that way. It's not good. I know how it feels. So I have to advise everybody to keep away from war. Let us continue to enjoy our peace.
I find people are very kind. I can't exist without the kindness of other people.
We never know from day to day when our time is up. Let's think of each other, respect each other, and let's live life to the full. That's what I want to see today.
When they sound the last all clear, how happy my darling will be. When they turn up the lights and the dark lonely nights are only a memory. Nevermore we'll be apart, always together, sweetheart. For the peace bells will ring and the whole world will sing when we sound the last all clear. We've got our troubles and we've got our cares, but as long as we keep smiling through, there'll come a day when the clouds roll away and the sun will be shining anew. There'll come a day when the clouds roll away and the sun will be shining anew. When they sound the last all clear, how happy my darling will be. When they turn up the lights and the dark lonely nights are only a memory. Nevermore we'll be apart, always together, sweetheart. For the peace bells will ring and the whole world will sing when they sound the last all clear. Sound the last all clear. Sound the last all clear. Sound the last all
The cellist was Lance Corporal Elizabeth Orr from the Duchess of Edinburgh's String Orchestra, and we listened to Laura Main.
A beautiful rendition of the Dame Vera Lynn classic. For 3 months during 1944, Dame Vera visited the troops in Burma. The Far East was the longest British land campaign of the Second World War. Continuous fighting raged for nearly 4 years. Troops were preparing for an invasion of Japan, but the dropping of atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki forced the Japanese to surrender. VJ Day had come. There was relief and joy, but also sadness at the human cost. Our final contribution to this Royal British Legion commemoration comes from George Durrant and his great-granddaughter, Elspeth.
Want me to speak now?
Great-granddad never spoke about the war until a few years ago. I love hearing about when he found snakes in his boots. If you are lucky, and it makes me sad knowing how difficult it was for the people who fought in the war. If you are lucky enough to know somebody who fought in the war, please listen and remember their stories.
I served with the Intelligence Corps in Burma from April 1944 until the end of the war. People always talk about how brave we were, but few of us felt that way. At the time, we just thought that we were there to do our duty. I speak to you now, not as a hero, but as someone who witnessed the price of freedom. We must look to the future and ensure that the next generation remember our sacrifices so that they can strive for a more peaceful tomorrow. Thank you.
Jennifer Pike with the Lark Ascending. We keep our ears tuned now to the skies for the Battle of Britain Memorial Flight. I think I hear them. In the middle, the Lancaster, one of two left airworthy in the world from 7,000. On the left wing, the Hurricane. On the right wing, the Spitfire. Let's listen to them. The Lancaster piloted today by Flight Lieutenant Seb Davey. Its twin tail heading away from us. I think they're coming back with luck. The Hurricane on the Lancs left wing, piloted today by Squadron Leader Al Luckins. And the Spitfire on the Lancs right wing, piloted today by Flight Lieutenant Andy Preece. With us today, I hope we get to see him in the Royal Box, is Edwin Haberley. He joined at 17. He was posted to Burma. He's a Royal Air Force Spitfire pilot. There he is. Look at his tie. If you asked him, is that a Spitfire on your tie, sir? He'd reply, yes. I flew one. I crashed my plane into the jungle. He survived. After recovering in hospital, he ended the war in Hong Kong. Even then, the action didn't stop for Eddie. He patrolled the South China Sea in his Spitfire, hunting for pirates. Here they come again. You can only wonder at Edwin's emotion and his memory as he looks up, as he listens. The ground shook in our position here at the Memorial Arboretum, and I've got a picture of Eddie on my wall here, of him just a couple of years ago in the cockpit again. The King and Queen visibly moved today as he was addressed, His Majesty was addressed by Yava Abbas, the combat cameraman who went off script to look the monarch straight in the eye and told him he had done his grandfather proud, under whose cap badge Yava served. The Queen is talking to John Harlow, the submariner whose testimony we've heard today, part of the British Pacific Fleet, the biggest in our history. His Majesty is talking to Edward Hadfield, a 100-year-old army veteran. Edward's originally from Chesterfield. He said, I never really had the opportunity to speak about my time in the war. I just didn't think anyone would be interested. the Queen wearing the Rifles brooch. She's their Colonel-in-Chief, the daughter of a World War II decorated veteran, always among her most comfortable pictures as we see her with the veterans. The King is in the uniform of the Field Marshal. A day that began with him with prepared remarks recalling his grandfather's role in announcing the end of the Second World War, and which is ending for him being addressed informally by a veteran of that war. Ten years ago, there were 3,000 veterans on parade. Today, His Majesty is taking his time to shake the hand of just over 30 VJ Day veterans and their families. The veterans are living witness to the end of the Second World War, the most destructive conflict in human history, in which 60 million people died. There's no way Her Majesty the Queen wants to be hurried from the dais. There is celebration in the air as well as there is solemnity. One gentleman I spoke to said, having lost his friend at 20, he felt it his duty to get on with his life, enjoy his life. One of them who's here today, who fought back then and watched it all here today, is George Durrant, and he said this: "Today I am comforted knowing that people appreciate what we did to try to make the world a better place. We were the forgotten army, but now," he said today, "we feel remembered." From the BBC team at the National Memorial Arboretum to your team, thank you for watching, and goodbye.